Hi, it's great to see so many people. So I want to thank David for his unrelenting delving into the history of those who volunteered from Westborough in the American Revolution, and culminating his work, culminating in the addition of 55 men to the 45 that had originally been discovered and documented. So now they're going to be newly remembered on this monument that we're celebrating today. So I don't think you can understand how much time and effort and love David put into this. So could we just, right at the beginning, give him a little applause? Okay. I'm honored to be the Master of Ceremonies today, thanks to David, especially as my relative Joseph Belknap was a Minuteman under the Lexington Alarm, serving under Captain Seth Morth of Shrewsbury for 3 stints of duty. He survived, his descendants are still active in town, and Belknap Street is named for him. So while we're getting ready for everybody to get settled in case of any late people coming, I just wanted you to welcome Senator Michael Moore and Kate Donahue. And then we have, I hope it's the full list, and if people want to raise their hands, Paul and Mary Brigham of Northborough, related to one of the many Brighams in the Seth Morse and Edmund Brigham companies and others of their family. So are they here? I don't see them raising hands. The DeWolfs of Westborough, related to Moses Wheelock, 2nd Lieutenant in Edmund Brigham's Army. Are they here? Right down there. And we have Robert, which I call Bob Poskett, who is a classmate of mine. His father was a farmer here in Westborough. And he was related to Nathaniel Chamberlain, a fifer in the Edmund Brigham Company. And of course, we have a large contingency from the Nourse family, because they had a lot of people that were involved. And Daniel Nourse was a private in Seth Morse's company. So, are there anyone that David and I didn't realize were going to be here? Any other descendants that would like to just say their name or tell us after that you came? Okay. Then I especially want to thank Maureen Sullivan, the community advocate reporter, and Karen Henderson for making this archivable, so we'll always have this lovely ceremony in the future. So the agenda today, I'm just going to quickly go down, but we'll introduce people as they come up. We'll have the national anthem, Pledge of Allegiance, an invocation, the history of the monument, thanks to the monument's sponsors, presentation of the wreath, remarks by Senator Moore and Representative Donahue, and then we will have an honor guard, taps, and America the Beautiful.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming.
So those are our volunteers from the Westborough High School Choral Union, led by Chase Crandall, who's graduating this year. Now we will have
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reverend Betsy Dorsey of the Congregational Church of Westborough will give us an invocation.
Hello. It is my privilege to open this monument dedication with prayer. I invite each of you to bow and pray according to the direction of your own faith tradition, as I will in mine, or simply to hold a respectful moment of silence. Almighty and ever-present God, we come before you today in celebration and honor of the courageous heroes from our town who put aside fear and joined their fellow patriots in answering the call of liberty. Men who left home, family, and relative security to head into unplanned circumstances. They took up whatever arms they could gather to fight against a well-armed, trained, paid British army. But with justice and righteousness on their side, these men of valor marched into harm's way to defend the life, liberty, and livelihoods of all citizens of the colonies. We know they have been resting in peace with you for many years now, and we thank you for this opportunity to learn about their service and to honor and preserve their memory. Their courage inspires all of us, inheritors of the liberty they won for us, to continue to serve the cause of justice and peace, both within our community and in service to the world, either as actively concerned citizens or in service within our national armed forces. We ask your blessing upon our community as it honors these Revolutionary War heroes in action. Like them, may we never lose courage or put self before others. Let their bravery continue to inspire members of our community to action in the preservation of our democracy, which they fought to gain for us. In the name of our sovereign God, we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. And now we get to the exciting part. David is going to give us a history of the monument and what he did. So welcome, David.
After the Reverend Betsy's invocation, I'm not sure this is going to be very dynamic, but here we are. Welcome. Minuteman Park was created in 1975 to honor the men who responded to the Lexington alarm of April 19, 1775. It's a lovely park, a great place to sit or walk or enjoy views over the water. It's a fitting place for a memorial. In 1975, the Bicentennial Commission erected the very handsome monument which is near the entrance to the park. It has a nice bronze plaque and is mounted on a very pretty boulder. Why then, you might ask, are we here today to dedicate a new memorial? As we have learned, the 1975 monument has some significant problems. It lists the names of 46 Minutemen, but does not include the name of William Woods, who marched with the company on April 19th. Instead, it honors a no-show, a man who was paid for training but didn't show up for the event. The monument also has some errors with respect to the names and ranks of the men involved. Most important, the monument does not show the name of 55 other men of Westborough who responded to the alarm. In short, this handsome 1975 monument is not an accurate statement of the history of this event. So what should we do when we find that a public monument erected by a public commission is flawed? How do we correct the public record? Taking down the 1975 monument was not an option. The Bicentennial Commission had constructed the monument based upon information in a history of Westborough, published by the town itself in 1891. That history, discussing the response to the British attack on Lexington and Concord on April 19, 1775, had referred to a muster roll for a Minuteman company, but made no reference to any other militiamen as having been involved. Thus, the 1975 monument merely reflected what the Bicentennial Commission understood were the facts. Paradoxically, although more time has passed, we know more today about the Lexington alarm than the Bicentennial Commission knew because of modern computers that give us the ability to search old records. Thus, we've been able to access and review the actual pay records from the Massachusetts archives for all of the Westborough men who responded on that event. However, the fact that we know more today is not a ground for discarding the Commission's record, which is based upon what was known at that time in the past. Making changes to the existing monument certainly was not an option. Bronze plaques are not readily amended, and it really is not feasible to insert an errata notation alongside a public monument. In the circumstances, we decided that the best approach was to construct a new monument, which would set out the names and ranks of all those who responded to the alarm based upon the now available pay records, and place it adjacent to the existing monument. Thus, the new monument supplements the old monument and effectively updates its narrative. The Lexington alarm was an extraordinary event. Records show that some 3,500 men were involved in the fighting which drove the British back to Boston. They were the ones who lived the closest. But in all, some 20,000 men responded to news of the British advance on Lexington and Concord, spread by Paul Revere and others. Their assembly in Cambridge and Roxbury, outside of Boston, effectively blockaded the British in Boston. The British came out once at Bunker Hill, but were so bloodied by that battle that they did not come out again until they sailed away to Canada on March 17, 1776, a day still celebrated in Boston as Evacuation Day. Westborough's response to the Lexington alarm was substantial. A total of 101 men, consisting of a Minuteman company under Captain Brigham and 2 militia companies under Captains Morse and Baker, marched on April 19th. There is no record that any of them were involved in the fighting on that day, because they had to proceed on foot and the distance was too great. However, they were all part of the 20,000 men that penned up the British in Boston. Within days, 24 of them enlisted in the Continental Army. Most returned home in about 2 weeks' time as the Continental Army took charge. The records relating to their service on this occasion can now be viewed on the town's website archive. We do not know for certain how large a portion of the town was represented by this 101 men. However, an enlarged copy of a record listing male persons who were 16 years or older as of January 1, 1777, is available for viewing in the lower corridor of the town hall. It lists 215 names, including the Reverend Ebenezer Parkman and some quite old men. If one assumes that the list was complete on that date, and that the population of the town had not changed in 20 months since April 19th, the 101 men marching on April 19th represented 47% of the male population, nearly half. It is fitting that all 101 men of Westborough are listed together on this monument. They probably all shared the same apprehension about going up against British regulars, regarded as among the best military in the world. They certainly all shared the same weather and marched the same distances. All men of the same rank received the same rates of pay, and all received the same 1 penny per mile for the distances marched. All were probably frustrated that they were too late for the fighting and hadn't had the opportunity to fire those heavy muskets that they carried. The Lexington alarm was the first event in what turned out to be a long war. Many of the 101 who responded on April 19 served on other occasions. Others enlisted in the Continental Army at other times. They deserve to be remembered. They deserve to be honored. Thank you for attending this dedication ceremony for the monument intended to remember and honor them all. Thank you.
Dean Johnson, would you give thanks to our monument sponsors?
Thank you, Lee. I was supposed to introduce Lee at the beginning, but she stepped right in. As I've got to know, I've known Lee for a long, long time, and did want to introduce her for those that don't know Lee Emery, and thank her for being the Master of Ceremonies here today. I'm also here representing the trustees of Soldiers Memorial as well as the Select Board. And for those of you who don't know, that the trustees of Soldiers Memorials are the town committee that's responsible for the care and maintenance of all of the town's memorials, including this new memorial. And we met with David on multiple occasions as he brought this forward, and we will continue to take care of this new memorial and thank him for that, as well as the civic organizations here in town that help make this possible. I think for those here residents in town, you'll be happy to know that this was done thanks to the donations of these civic organizations and not your tax dollars. So we appreciate that. Because erecting public memorials, there are definitely expenses, and this one, so beautiful, we have to thank those organizations. So I know that many of them here today. So thank you to the Westborough Civic Club, the Westborough Historical Society, and the Westborough Rotary Club. It's through their organization and their members that have made it possible for us to erect this monument. So please join me in a round of applause for them. As we just heard from David Nourse, this monument is his work. David graduated from Westborough High School in the class of 1954, one of 50 members of that graduating class. He had a Navy ROTC scholarship to Harvard, where he graduated in 1958. He served for 3 years on a destroyer home-ported in Newport, and then went to Columbia Law School in New York, where he graduated in 1964. He practiced admiralty and maritime law in New York for 45 years, retiring and coming back to Westborough in 2010. As he talked just prior to me, he researched the town's response to the Lexington alarm on April 19, 1775, and obtained from the Massachusetts Archives the original pay records for the 101 men in Westborough who responded to the alarm. He reported to the town in his research in April 2021, came before the Select Board about his proposal for a new monument on June 8th of 2021. And his research was then verified by 2 historians in early 2022. Thereafter, he proceeded to design the monument, gained the boulder in a Nourse Farm pasture on which to mount the plaque, beautiful boulder that we see here. And thanks are due to him for this effort to preserve the history of Westborough's response to the Lexington alarm, an important event for our nation. So I said, David, as we thought about a boulder to put it on to match the existing boulder here, a number of us looked around town, but David found one on the Nourse Farm. But David couldn't move it himself as it weighed about 5 tons. But knowing David, I'm sure he tried. Thanks are due to Derek Sari, Assistant Director of the DPW, Chris Miller, his Highway Lead Man, and members of Westborough's DPW for using their equipment to move the boulder to this position in the park. Finally, there are many people who have contributed to this dedication ceremony, and on the programs you can see their names in the acknowledgement section. Thanks to all of them. Particular thanks are due to the staff of Westborough High School and the Westborough High School students who are participating here today. So again, thank you to our organizations who sponsored this monument. We truly appreciate it for what you've done here for the town, what those organizations continue to do for the town. And finally, thank you to all of you that are here for attending today's event.
So we're now going to have Kate and Senator Moore put the wreath up. And then if you'd like to come to the podium after and make a couple remarks or share a couple of remarks, we would love to have you.
Hi, I'm here today to present a citation on behalf of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which I will quickly read. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the House of Representatives, be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to the town of Westborough in recognition of the newly erected monument commemorating the 101 militiamen from the town of Westborough who aided the Lexington Alarm of 1775 and for its historical significance to the American War of Independence. Our entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. Given this 15th day of April 2023, and it's signed by Ron Mariano, Speaker of the House, State Representative Hannah Kane, and myself, State Representative from Westborough. And I just wanted to briefly say how thankful I am to be here in Westborough. I've lived in Westborough almost 49 years, and it was really so interesting to hear the history. I want to thank everybody who's been here today. Special thanks to, we did want to mention David for that fine history. As someone who presented the wreath, I wanted to acknowledge Andrea Little and the members of the Westborough Garden Club who put that together. It's beautiful. Wanted to thank the Select Board, the Reverend Betsy, and everybody who's here today. And I just can't say how grateful I am to the 101 militiamen and everybody else who has made this town such a wonderful place to be. And with that, I'll pass it over to Senator Moore.
Well, good morning. First, I want to thank you for inviting me here to this ceremony today, and thank David and everyone involved with researching and doing history on what took place those hundreds of years ago. And actually, if you think back to what we go through today, and I guess what the country's dealing with today, trying to support our Constitution and the values and everything happening today that we see internationally and nationally, that it all traces back to the sacrifices that were originally made by these men. And the fact that we have so many people that were willing to take arms, almost like you said, 50% of the population in this town. That's amazing that you would have so many people that were willing at that time to take arms and fight for their community. So I want to thank everyone from the committee, the selectmen, as Kate Donahue, Representative Donahue had said, who's part of this. It really is amazing that the community is not forgetting what I would say are our first veterans. So thank you, and thank you to all the family members who were here, of everyone who made those sacrifices. Thank you.
So we are ready for the honor guard and for taps. And Anastasia Layla Shore will be playing taps for us. And the honor guard, Ray Fitzgerald, William Harris, Tony Pittman, are members of the VFW Post. Thank you for being here. Now, volunteers from the Westborough High School choral group, again, led by Chase Grandel, will sing America the Beautiful. Thank you. Now, I do want to acknowledge a few other people. I skipped Sumi Kanakanji's taps playing. She was playing over there in the background, so we did have two taps players. And Steve Massarelli for Westborough High School Sound. Allison Greer-Spinoza, the director of the choral music. Evan Doyle, director of the high school bands. We did the wreaths, which are lovely. Okay, and then I wanted to especially thank people who I appreciated working with for so long as a selectman in town, Shelby Marshall and Bill Linnane, who's sort of ubiquitous on almost anything in Westborough. But they did a lot of things to help David get this ready and couldn't attend today. And I think it's incredibly fitting that the rock came from the boulder, came from the Nourse Company. I was listening to them talk about the rocks that they used to do the memorials for the 3 people who were lost at the Boston Marathon 10 years ago. And each rock was chosen for something very specific to that person's death. Either the farm they lived on, the school they were going to. I think Columbia gave school for the rock for the woman who was a Columbian student, and the other one came from a town where the child lived. So to have this be there when the American Revolution was going on, and way before that, have it be here, it's just really appropriate instead of just sort of buying a rock or finding one someplace. It has the Nourse history, and now it has the war history. So thank you so much for you all coming and attending this, and our veterans over there in a group too. Thank you. Anyone who wants to take a picture by the wreath, you're welcome to. It'd be wonderful if some of the visiting descendants would like to do that together, we'll go in our town archive if you want to do it as a group. Okay, that concludes our program.
The Nourse family photo. Oh, go on, kid. I'm glad I got the
Nathaniel Chan, he was the fifer. He called the shot.
Oh, no kidding. Are you looking for?
Okay, okay. You're looking for, yeah.
Oh.